They are such terrifying following videos that I doubt you'll be able to watch all of them. Number 5. Gary Reed Unfrequented World is the name of a YouTube channel that appears to be full of ordinary outdoor vlogs and entertainment at first glance. Gary takes pleasure in hiking his large property in the northern Ontario wilderness with his loving family, and he enjoys photography and metal detecting excursions. A screaming cryptid deep in the woods that can twiddle trees in its strong grasp menaces the peacefulness of Gary Reed's unfrequented world. However, more on that in a second. First and foremost, I will talk about Gary and why his attentions are more important than the average YouTuber. Gary Reed grew up in the small Ontario town of Redbridge, surrounded by woods his entire life. He has a degree in environmental science and is aware of his surroundings on a state-of-the-art biological level, in addition to a lifetime of first-hand experience discovering the local lands. So, when he says there's something out there he can't make clear, it probably means neither you nor I can. The first time he has met it occurred on October 19, 1994, when he was 18 years old and staying in a cabin on Rabbit Lake. That's when he listened to what sounded like a woman's scream but wasn't quite. He depicts a second scream as a wail that crescendos into a howl, unlike anything he's ever heard. It seemed to scream its way through the entire camp, from one side to the other. Then it vanished. He listened to it again on April 3, 2020. Even though it almost sounds human, not quite.
That sucks. Can hear screaming.
Here it is again, this time with the audio turned up.
Gosh, this thing is still going on over here.
Although I know foxes can make strange noises, this sounds like an enraged person. He sneaks calmly towards the screaming, camera in hand, to see what he can discover. His trained eye notices a weird break in this tree as well as other trees that have fallen over, all of which are facing the same direction as if someone was running through the forest. And next to the weird scene is a braided branch that appears to have been twisted into this shape by something powerful.
There's one there.
Please let me know if there is any other way for these branches to connect besides sheer force. The deeper he goes, the more it appears that something massive has trampled through strangest of all of these large tracks put by what he doubts is an upright walking cryptid. These are not your average boots in my opinion. Even though he attempts to find the outline of its toes at 10 minutes and 25 seconds, I think he's a little off.
Not mine.
In my opinion, this is where they start.
Like toe prints in here. You can almost see the toes.
Much larger. He takes the measurements of the results the following day, and it reminds me of a certain cryptid with particularly large feet. I'm sure you know who I'm referring to. Even though I believe it is real, as a counterpoint, rain from the day before could have gradually worn away the snow, making an otherwise ordinary footstep appear much larger.
13¼ inches.
Let's now move on to some trail cams set up by Gary. This evidence, which was taken exactly a month earlier on March 3rd, is the most convincing of all. 4 days later, on March 7th, he and his neighbor listen to another shrill scream that sounds like it is owned by a child. He rushes out the door, leaving him alone and resistless in the pitch-black night. Even though pair of animal eyes peer at him from behind, I believe it's just the light reflecting off his glasses back into the camera. However, I could be incorrect because the following day when they examine the same area, his dog becomes perturbed and refuses to go any further.
I gotta turn the dish back on. I can hear whistling.
Something is unmistakably on the horizon. Perhaps they are closing in on it. Its trail isn't difficult to discover when it leaves a path of giant bent trees in its wake. Could this have been done by nature? Most likely not. It appears that something massive reached up and yanked it down. And a half minute later, he discovers this tree with a branch that has literally been twisted off and reattached. This does not appear to be a typical break to me because the tree appears to be in good health. Another superlatively hardy tree with green leaves has been ripped in half by something powerful.
That's a pretty big one.
Or perhaps you were simply struck by lightning. That, however, does not make clear which animal is responsible for this.
That's about 8 feet. And it's got a good twist to it.
Even though I'm not sure what it is, anything that screams while shredding trees is too dangerous for me to be in the same forest with.
You can see the bark and you can actually see lines. Well, those are tooth marks. See all those little lines are tooth marks.
And that's just what's happened in the last few months. I recommend that you watch Gary Reed because there is over a year's worth of cryptid content to be discovered. Check out Unfrequented World for yourself. Meanwhile, please leave your best prediction as to what is causing this. Perhaps we can solve one of Ontario's strangest modern unsolved mysteries. Number 4. Years ago, I examined a video of a massive humanoid creature roaming the Portuguese desert. The new proof of the creature is making the rounds on the internet, and this photograph is said to show what it eats. Which, sadly, is us. When it drags him towards its open maw, a strong-looking man with a crew cut and fatigues is no match for this creature. He is not dressed in civilian attire. His outfit, if anything, resembles that of the special ops base where the original video was shot. All of the creature's finer details appear to match as well. The back leg's dramatic bend in comparison to the upper arm's more developed upper arms, its cone-like head, and unnatural slouch are all present. And it appears to be a Cyclops creature as well, according to this image. Of course, it's possible that this is a Photoshop image. If it was real, I would have expected a video or at least more than one image. If anything, I hope this isn't true for the sake of the person about to be devoured. Number 3. Seeking Legends, a YouTuber, has over 7 years of videos in which he follows spirits and cryptids in the Las Vegas area and surrounding states. His subscribers have an idea that he doesn't exaggerate his videos and isn't afraid to say when he believes a location has nothing unusual to offer. This seemed not to be the case when he visited a haunted forest on February 16, 2018 to look for the notorious White Witch, the spirit of a woman who used to hike this area frequently with her family and was kidnapped by unscrupulous locals. Even though she got away, her family did not, and she has been hiking the woods seeking avengement ever since. She imprecated the land before killing herself in the very spot where Cryptid Hunter now stands. To better get in touch with any close-by spirits, he employs a paranormal dowsing rod, which is said to be capable of tapping into supernatural energy. It doesn't take long for him to discover someone to talk to.
Can you point the rod to me? You see that I'm not moving this.
And I do mean converse with. Because there are no approaching footsteps, it's not a hiker, just strange voices carried over the water, just as the legends claim. And the voices forbearingly wait for the command to be finished before speaking again. I don't believe that it's his nerves moving the rod because he speaks calmly and his hand appears almost completely still to me, so maybe this piece of equipment isn't as useless as it seems.
If you were a victim of somebody in here, can you make my rod spin, please?
Here's an even closer look at his hand at 8 minutes and 30 seconds when the spirits keep turning it around and around. His fingers aren't even moving in the slightest. When asked for more proof that the White Witch is present, 2 strange notes play. If you don't believe this is paranormal, let me know what you think could be making this noise in the middle of the forest. Soon after, he senses a presence guiding him and uses the rod to confirm where to go next.
Stop spinning the rod. Now. Where are you standing? Point the rod.
These instructions are confirmed by his EMF meter. In the end, there's a weird beeping noise coming from deeper in the woods that the EMF meter can't even reproduce.
If this is where you wanted me to stand.
And, just to prove that it wasn't a fluke, he easily gets it to respond again.
Thank you.
There seems to be no button on the meter that he can press to make it rise. Whether supernatural or not, this was all the result of an outside force of some kind. Every time he challenges the witch to move the meter, it always does so. As an example, consider the following. The timing is too coincidental to be a hoax. It must have grown tired of using the EMF meter over and over, so it makes up its mind to respond to his demands in a different way.
Make the lights go on.
And before you say these are just lightning bugs, take another look. It seems that they go from left to right once and then restart in the same spot, indicating that it is not an insect. It's becoming dark soon, and the park is closing, so Seeking Legends must depart. Hopefully, he will come back someday to continue the conversation. However, witch spirits aren't his only expertise. As previously stated, Seeking Legends has also hunted cryptids. Skinwalkers, vicious tricksters of Native American legend who can assume a semi-human animal-like form, are said to haunt this desert cave. He can't go down very far due to breathing issues, however, his concerns begin even before he gets there, when this glow stick, hung up as a marker to avoid getting lost, starts to sway in place on its own. When it starts to change position, he's nowhere near. And, perhaps it's just me, but it appears to be swinging even harder 3 minutes later, with no signs of slowing down. After that, he listens to what sounds like a Native American drum outside the cave.
Listen, I hope the camera's catching that.
Hello?
And, only with one hand on the camera and the other observable, this angle proves he couldn't have made the noise.
Please tell me you guys heard that.
Although I'll agree that the drums are a little difficult to hear, this last section isn't. Attempt to tell me what this voice is saying because it seems like it's speaking a different language, possibly backwards. I'm curious whether you think this is a skinwalker or voiceover editing. Number 2. Happy Life is a YouTube channel that ironically discovers some of Pakistan's most miserably haunted locations. Although Happy Life started out as a spiritual advice channel, they now hope to be better aware of the darker side of spirituality through paranormal investigations like this one. This time, the Happy Life crew plans to investigate a haunted school where many students are said to have died. Early on, they come into contact with a poltergeist who is determined to drive them away. Even though the first encounter looks like it's throwing plates, after that, it quickly progresses to a weighty bottle that could have really hurt them. Doors also close repeatedly as though something would not like them to go any further. But the more I think about it, the more I think the cameraman is to blame rather than a ghost. A weird coincidence is that the objects are always thrown in the direction of the cameraman. Because the camera person evermore appears to be within arm's reach when the doors close, I'm guessing he's either striking it with the foot or pushing it to shut with his free hand. However, when they reach the top of the school, they discover a mysterious red streak of dried up liquid overlooking the balcony. So, while parts of this video may have been done up, it's possible that a student did, in fact, lose their life here. The situation becomes even stranger when they discover a star in the hall, which could have been used in a ritual or simply drawn by them to make the video scarier. However, I believe it's real because of what takes place shortly after one of them falls to his knees in the middle. It sounds forcefully loud and most likely real when it echoes down the hall. One of them investigates a room while the other takes notes from outside the window. There is no one else nearby, so tell me who is to blame for what takes place next. They make a decision that going any further inside is too dangerous and stick to the outer perimeter. They eventually catch a shallow well that emits remaining negative energy that could be the result of an extremely bad and disastrous event. Something draws them in, and sure enough, the dirt has been freshly disturbed. When he pulls this human fragment and holds it up to the camera, an orb passes from left to right over the small grave. Number 1. Wo Kon Tar, a YouTuber, is on a mission to discover Pakistan's most haunted locations faster than anyone in the history of ghost hunting. Since August of 2019, he has conducted an investigation into 60 paranormal locations, but for the sake of time, let's concentrate on the top 3 scariest ones. He goes to a house possessed by demonic desert spirits known as jinns in September of 2019. He only takes one step into the first room and has a sensation of a cold attendance that gives a warning to him to stay away. Then, across the room, the door closes at a slow pace that you have to keep an eye on the shine of his camera light to see it. When he takes a few bold steps forward, a ghostly white arm outstretches the knob, closing it the rest of the way, and his flashlight turns off. The same door rattles again at the back of him. Even though someone is on the other side, I'm not sure if it's a ghost or a member of his crew. Besides, what is he saying here to elicit such a strong reaction?
यहाँ कोई मौजूद है? क्या अपने होने का सबूत दे सकते हैं? अल्लाहु अकबर.
There is not anybody that be on the other side of the door, at least not that I can see, although someone could be ducking under the camera to make it appear that way. However, that's when he notices it. The thing is accountable for closing the door, a white apparition who glides away without saying anything. Even it's gruesome, to be sure, it's also doubtful because he sees the ghost and then goes into the room looking the exact opposite way for some reason, which leads me to believe that the ghost was digitally added later. Then he listens to something so strange and crazy that it almost needs to be edited. Please tell me if you believe it is genuine, because if so, this is comparatively much evidence of the supernatural. Voices, possibly children whose lives have been snuffed out by the jinn. The ghost hunter comprehensibly appears hesitant to proceed, as if a great danger is approaching. As it is, he is correct. Even though no one appears to be inside this room, when he cautiously rounds the corner, I believe I see the jinn himself, a grey figure in a cloak, standing on the other side. Although the image is hazy, something appears to be staring at him. The top arrow represents its face, and the bottom represents its outstretched hand, palm up. Although he escapes right away, comes back to the house on February 2, 2020 for another look. I believe that they're saying something's on the roof here, however, I need your assistance to translate and make sure.
ये देखें, आपके सामने.
It is clear that no matter what it is now in the room with them, so they step outside. Even though they take a short break, as soon as they return inside, the trouble begins again.
ये अचानक ही गिरा है नीचे.
During this section, I'm comparatively sure that he's requiring confirmation of a ghost, and he soon gets a response.
देखिए आप जो भी हैं, मैं आपको नुकसान पहुंचाने यहाँ नहीं आया.
At which point, this chain on a nail starts to sway back and forth on its own for well over 10 seconds. Although doors slam shut, Wo Kon Tar is assured to go even further, and he eventually catches a strange straw hut that fills him with incomprehensible dread. The earth appears to have been recently disturbed. Under the rubble, anything could be overwhelmed. When the spirits become nervous, he is taking a good look at the structure. Maybe it's just a piece of string tied to a tree.
Astaghfirullah.
In any case, he looks for refuge in an area that is just as haunted as the rest, and he soon listens to voices coming through the walls. You'd think that there was not anything that could stop this courageous explorer at this point. Slamming doors, groaning whimpers, and objects changing position on their own aren't enough to compel him to leave. However, the thing that frightens him out of their wits the most is nothing at all, an attendance that we can't see but only he can feel. Is this a genuine part or just good performing art? He turns around and looks around the corner, as though something has just passed by.
अजीब सी कंडीशन है अल्लाह अकबर अस्तगफिरुल्लाह मुझे धक्का दिया किसी ने
No matter what touched him has made him too afraid to return. I've rescued the scariest one for last, a paranormal adventure taking place on October 23, 2019. That's when Wo Kon Ta visits a cemetery full of unmarked graves. Many of them seem to be children. It's a quiet night, and crickets chirp when he only says a few words that I wanted to translate because they sound ceremonious and downhearted. The silence is soon broken by a rushing whisper that sounds lonely and paranormal.
अल्लाह ताला की मेहरबानी से मैं बिखरिए से हूँ
A rising cry of agony possibly emanating from the other side of life. As he approaches an old memorial, he listens to another voice call out, almost laughing.
था वो मुझे अस्तगफिरुल्लाह वो मुझे न
And then, about 2 minutes later, the same voice. Laughing. His easily frightened fear is overcome by a morbid desire to stay and find out who the voice belongs to. Even though I was half looking forward to a hand emerging from the ground, what takes place next is just as terrifying.
अल्लाह अकबर अस्तगफिरुल्लाह अस्तगफिरुल्लाह मेरे दोस्तों वो साया है मेरे दोस्तों वो
He looks around the building's perimeter and finds nothing. Even though I wish Wo Kon Ta the best, I also hope he slows down to a more cautious pace of exploration. If he continues doing this, it'll only be a matter of time before something terrible occurs to him, and at this rate, he might not even make it to his 100th video. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because I upload a new video every day. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of my other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy.